Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a how-to video, and I want to show you guys how I take care of my brushes. So before we even get started, I want to make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Go ahead and take care of that now. But to begin, I buy a lot of random brushes. I have the three red ones are random ones I bought from eBay. There's my prized alpha brush. I have my panna brush, which is the purple one, and then I have a Model 1's brush right in the center. I have really good brushes for reasons. I have bad brushes for reasons, but all of it doesn't matter what you have brushes for or how many you have, you need to take care of them. So I was just showing you a split that happens between my panna brush, and I really don't like the way it looks, so I want to show you guys how I take care of my brushes. I've used this method before, actually prior to this video, and if your brushes get like really stiff, they lean to the side, as most of mine are doing, they fray out, they just seem dry, they're not picking up monomer or beads like they need to, or as you can see, like my Model 1's brush is actually stained towards the bottom, and that's why, another reason why I don't use that blue acetone I used in my how to remove nails video. It stains everything. I'm definitely the type of person who will forget, and forget quite often, so some of these brushes have been left sitting in acetone overnight, or the acetone dried and it got really gummy at the bottom. They've all been through some stuff where they've just, they sit funny and that's why they're bent. But after a ton of research without having to buy new brushes, I have found a way that you can do at home to fix your brushes and to rehydrate them. So that is what I'm going to show you guys how to do today. To begin, you're going to want a container with some acetone in it, and that one there was just alcohol because I was cleaning it and disinfecting it from the last time I had used it. So I just went ahead and wiped that out, and if you can see on the bottom of that, that's all the leftover gunk from using or from soaking my brushes in it. So you want to use 100% pure acetone. There's always going to be some conflicting ways on using 100% acetone and not using it. This is the way I do things, so for anyone who is against it, I'm sorry. If you don't want to watch this video, it's completely fine, click away now. So I did clean it with some 91% alcohol, and here I'm just wiping out whatever was left, and it's a combination of gel polish from when I did gel polish nails or gel polish on my monomer nails, a combination of acrylic that I've used, acrylic colors, and it's just sitting, and the dreaded blue acetone. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pouring enough in there just to cover the brushes. There's actually jars meant for this to hold your brushes standing straight up. For the most part, you want them to stand straight up, so that way they don't bend, but I don't have that jar with me. Instead, I actually have these cigarette blunt holder rings, meant for like gamers. So I actually wound up using these for this reason. Didn't realize it would work so well, and this is where I got it from Amazon actually, and it definitely not supposed to be used this way, but we all know I don't use things the way they're supposed to be used on this channel, so let's just throw this one out the window as well. This is actually a great tool to use if you have them on hand. I remember we had bought quite a few of the silicone ones way back when, and we just never used them, and so I had some of these laying around and I had just never used them, so I found a way to use them to keep my brushes standing up in acetone. So that's what I'm doing here. You don't have to do this. You can buy the jar. I think there is one on Amazon that you could buy, but I have an old Barbicide jar that works just fine. So what you want to do first when you come to soak your brushes is you want to soak them in acetone, pure acetone, I do mine for 5 to 10 minutes, not really exceeding 10 because it's not like you're soaking off nails. My panna brush didn't have a whole lot in it, but I take my metal scraper that I use to scrape my nails, and just gently scrape out all of the acrylic that may be in there. You don't want to push too hard because that can cause the bristles to fray, and it's definitely not what you want because it'll just cause more problems later on. So like I said, this one didn't have a whole lot of acrylic in it, and it is pretty clean, what I like to do after I clean it out is just dip it back in a little acetone, just to make sure that, you know, it's nice and clean, and whatever may have gotten on it from the cuticle scraper didn't get in there. This brush does have a weird split. I don't know how splits happen, but this one does have a split, and the method that I used to fix this definitely helps with that. And I'm sorry if you can hear my neighbor's dog barking. He's so annoying. So I do the same thing with this one. This one actually had quite a bit of acrylic in it, and you'll see when I scrape it out. But that's what I do with all my brushes. I let them soak for at least a maximum of 5 minutes, because you don't want them to get too dried out. But I'll show you a way to keep them nice and fresh. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the kitchen, and we're actually going to boil some water. So come with me down to my kitchen. Before I even go to my kitchen, you're also going to want some cuticle oil and some regular top coat, like a fast dry top coat. So if you have them, make sure you have those around at home. This is why I really love this method. So we have some water boiling. I know my stove is a little dirty right now, but you know, we're just gonna ignore that. You're gonna want to boil some water for this and put your brushes inside of a mug. Here I just have an old mug that of course I wash out after I use it. My water is hot, and I really had a hard time doing this and not trying to make a mess and film at the same time, but you're just going to pour some hot water into your mug with your brushes. It's okay to see bubbles. That's just the hot water getting in between the bristles. If you have a brush that is bent or leaning to one side, you want to reverse it so that way it tries to correct itself a little bit, but the hot water helps with straightening out the hairs. You want to leave it there for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you come back when it's cool enough to touch. And I just have some paper towel here, and you can, since it is soft enough to touch, you can like push out any leftover acrylic. Some of it does come out actually. I had my mug leaning up at an angle, and so it just fell to sit straight up. So that's all that was. It didn't fall anything. So I just take the brushes out of the hot water and I dry them off while also shaping them with my fingers. Again, the water is not that hot, but shaping them with my fingers and making sure I get all of the water out by pressing it in between the paper towel, which also helps it get it really flat. So I go through that with all of my brushes before I go back upstairs to my corner. So pressing my panna brush while it was still warm definitely helps get rid of the split. Like I said, I don't know why it happens, so it does wind up coming back, but this also helps it really just help the care of the brush overall, because it is about I think about a 1.5 years old now. So here we are back upstairs, and all of my brushes are fully dried, and when you touch the brushes at this point, they do feel really nice and soft. You can tell, this is when you can really tell when your brush is made out of real Kolinsky hair. The Pana brush is definitely made out of real Kolinsky hair. My cheapo brushes that I bought off of eBay, they were like $2-3 each, are definitely not Kolinsky, but that's not a problem because I call them my BS brushes. They're just meant for BSing around, really. And if I need one mid-set or something like that, I can always switch to it and use it. And they're not terrible, but they're not the greatest quality either. So some of these I definitely should have soaked in fresh acetone, but you know, they're my BS brushes. So I'm really mainly concerned with like my Pana brush and my Alpha brush when I do this method. But this does, like I said, it does help with these BS brushes and keeping them in shape. For this portion, you're going to need your cuticle oil and your fast dry top coat. And this part is actually my favorite part. I really love shaping my brushes and taking care of them. I really enjoy it. I do have the Alpha brush softener, but I have no idea how to use it. So with the cuticle oil, you're going to put it onto your bristles. Call me crazy, call me what you want, but yes, you're going to put it on your bristles. Why? It's hair. Real Kolinsky hair requires moisturization, and like, it's your hair, so you need to moisturize it. Or it's not your hair, but you paid for it, so it's yours. Moisturize it. I do this every 2 to 3 sets every time I use them. I don't do them all at once. Now I wish I still had footage of when I did this originally, because it was such a big difference, and then the trimming part is so much fun. So when you put the cuticle oil on, you just put it on a little bit on each side. That's what I did, and then after you build up enough on your fingers, you don't need it as much. And I mean, the shine of it just looks it looks like it's brand new. I also like the feeling of doing this between my fingers. The feeling of it going from a dry brush to nice and moisturized is so soothing. This is also a time where you can really shape the brush and shape it to the way you want. None of my brushes, no, not even my Alpha brush, none of my acrylic brushes are crimped. So they have like a free form to where they can be possibly how they can be shaped. And then if you see, I was showing you guys right there a little tiny bristle that was sticking out. You can try and shape it as much as possible, but I'll show you the trick that I use to trim it. And I know some people are like, you cut your brushes. I do. How else are you supposed to trim a dead hair? But we'll get to that part when we do. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the rest of the cuticle oil on the brushes, and I will show you what to do with the top coat. out your quick dry top coat. I bought this at a local beauty supply. Support your local beauty supplies. So it's just some cheapo top quick dry top coat. I don't know why I couldn't say that. So I'm doing the same thing basically that I did with the cuticle oil. I am putting it on either side of the brush and then shaping the brush again. Now what this does is, obviously it's a quick dry top coat, so I'm sure if you guys figured it out by this point, you'll understand what it's for. It's to harden the brush or harden the bristles and make them firm, to, you know, keep them straight. So as you can see, that brush looks completely different than what it did at the beginning of this video. And I put it into my little brush holder that I bought in my unboxing video and just let it dry. And it doesn't take long, and it doesn't feel weird on your fingers. The only reason I'm holding the bottle like that, or the brush like that, to put the top coat on, is because I just didn't want the top coat to be on the handle. And with this also lets you, the brushes that I need to trim, I set them aside because I don't want to do it, you know, while this stuff is still wet. But you will, if you do need to trim your brushes, make sure you watch to the very end so I show you how to trim the brush safely. And doing this step definitely helps with knowing when to trim and knowing what to trim. Like I said, I wish I had filmed this when I had originally done it. I have already done it on these brushes before and needed to trim really bad, but you can see where you need to trim and what you need to trim, and it's super easy. You just have to be careful on how low you go, because you don't want to over trim and make the brush uneven when you pick up beads of acrylic. So I am just going to continue straightening the brushes out with the rest of the top coat, and I will show you how to trim in just a second. So with my panna brush, I make sure I pay really close attention to that split. I'm gonna do some more research as to figure out why that happens and if I can actually prevent it from happening again and stopping it permanently. But I do make do with it, and I mean, that brush looks so freaking good. The shine on it looks amazing. So putting that one aside, now we're going to get down to trimming my other brushes. So most of these are my BS brushes, which is fine. But I use my cuticle scissors because they are so thin, and I'm not, you know, chopping off half the freaking brush. But if you guys can see on certain brushes, there's like a film, not really a film, but like it's lighter at the top. That's the part you're going to want to trim. So once I finish this last brush, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So here I have my cuticle scissors, and the safest way to get bits that are sticking out is by using cuticle scissors, because I have that curve. So I use the curve facing downward towards the brush to trim it. And then because the bristles are hard, while I'm at it, what I also do is, you can't really see it well because I'm holding it over the paper towel, but here you can see like it's thin on one side and it looks a lot lighter than the tip of the brush. I go ahead and trim that off, and I like my brushes to be round, so I round my brush off as best as I can without over trimming. You don't want to cut all the way down into that darker brown spot. You only want to trim the lighter pieces, and it's so satisfying. Oh my goodness, it's more satisfying than cuticle cutting. Like, swear, it's so satisfying trimming brushes. And when you're done, you just admire your handiwork. Like, I was really proud of myself the first time after I did this, because my brushes look impeccable. And I mean, there's going to be some, like I said, who tell you don't trim, don't cut, but sometimes you do need to, and you just don't want to at the time. Maybe you can't afford a brand new brush, which is why I highly suggest that if you're learning, go ahead and buy the BS brushes. But this is how you take care of your BS brushes as best as you can. Like I said, the ones I have in the ones I have in my hand right now were like $2-3 off of eBay. I have I have like 3 number 10s and 3 number 12s. So you can get the brushes, but when you go work on yourself and you go work on clients, definitely make sure you have a quality brush. Pana is good, Alpha is definitely good. I know, congrats to Natalie Carmona, who has her own Alpha brush now with Alpha brush. So, you know, go spend the money on these brushes. There's a lot of companies out there that definitely have really good brushes for when you need them, but when you need a BS brush, it's fine. Go ahead and flock to eBay. These took 3 months to get here, but you know, I'm okay with that because I'm not using them for anything special or fancy. So I'm gonna finish trimming this up, guys, but I'd like to thank you so much as always for joining me on yet another nail video. I hope you really enjoyed. If you like care videos on how to take care of things, your nails, your brushes, anything, let me know in the comments below. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. I know I get to every comment as best as possible, as soon as possible. So if you really enjoyed this, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Bye.